So in the chaos of trying to get all my work stuff done and all my other personal matters, I completely forgot to do a Boruto review, and I'm sorry about that.
We're sorry. We're sorry.
That I completely slipped my mind, and I was like, oh crap, I said it last week and I forgot. So by the time you guys see this, it might be around the time the next Boruto chapter comes out, which I promise I'll try to get to you in time. But if you guys like my reviews and like this Boruto content, you know the deal. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into talking about today's chapter. So we open up the chapter where Mitsuki reminding us of that whole sun and moon ideology that he's had since the start of the series. And he says, I am the moon that prevails in the darkness, but I am not able to shine on my own. For that reason, I need the sun. As long as it shines on me, I'll shine too. The moon. It reveals a bright among the darkness. But all my life I've lived with that idea. Simply, I accept nothing more. But this is the first time I understand it, Kawaki. But then immediately we jump back to that fight between Mitsuki and Boruto. And now that they're both away from the village, don't forget neither of them could really hold back in their abilities, and Mitsuki sure as hell isn't holding back because he goes in for a strike on Boruto almost immediately using his snake sages. But Boruto just throws two shurikens, which at first seems like he just completely wafted, but it comes back up later. But it doesn't matter because Mitsuki's coming in straight for the attack, but Boruto is moving way too fast and way too agile for Mitsuki to land any of his abilities. And then right after we see that those shurikens he threw was to use a flying Raijin to teleport back behind him. But instead of attacking him, he kind of wonders why Mitsuki's here instead of Kawaki, because Kawaki's the one that really wants him dead. But Mitsuki doesn't seem very quick to answer that. But Shikamaru chimes in because he can't really hear what Shikamaru is saying and tells him that he uses poison to knock Kawaki out. Which, my god, how strong is that poison if it's able to knock out someone at Kawaki's level? And what happens next kind of solidifies that Boruto is probably the most goated in the universe, at least until we find out what those chakra trees are capable of. But Mitsuki more or less confirms that Boruto has definitely surpassed his limits and has definitely surpassed Kawaki, and he's here instead of Kawaki because he just cannot allow him to kill him. But Boruto is confused because from his estimations they're about the same level, so if he doesn't believe Kawaki can beat him, why does he think he can beat him? But Mitsuki's not trying to hear that because he wants Boruto to go all out for some reason, and they're both going to go all out for this battle going forward. But now they're done talking, Mitsuki's straight with that action by attacking Boruto with several snake clones. And for some reason, Boruto seemingly cares more about the environment than anything, which is so weird because dude is trying to kill you. That shows how little of a threat he actually sees Mitsuki as. But Mitsuki doesn't really see that as a concern to him, and he thinks that all this destruction is brought upon Boruto anyway, so he continues striking him. But Boruto seemingly has a lot on his agenda, so he's like, yo, I'm not falling here. And as he begins to go on the offensive, finally, then begins to strike Mitsuki with his lightning blade, cutting not only down his clones, but also through his snakes, and just working his way through his forces. But Mitsuki's really not trying to give up this fight right now, so he goes in for a big attack with his lightning snake. But Boruto immediately counters it with Thunder Arrow, which I believe is a new attack. I don't think we've seen anything, but it could just be a variation of the Chidori. But both of the attacks end up canceling each other out as Mitsuki's trying to go in for another attack, but as the smoke clears, Boruto has a sword right to his neck, and it seems to be the end of the battle. But with the sword to his neck, Mitsuki depowers, and then he just sits there wondering why Boruto isn't going in for the kill. And Boruto understands that the reason why he wants to kill him is because of the conflict that has always driven Mitsuki his entire life. And Mitsuki's kind of confused as to what the hell he's even talking about. And Shikamaru and Ino are both watching the battle, kind of confused as to why Boruto just started trying to have a dialogue with Mitsuki mid-battle. Because as far as they know, they don't really remember their friendship and that they were close friends, so it's kind of odd that they decided to just start talking. Especially with their thoughts currently about how Boruto is supposed to be. I understand, or at least I know, that you need a son, right? And then that sparks Mitsuki's interest because no one's really supposed to know about the whole sun and moon concept besides him and maybe Kawaki. But anyway, Boruto reconfirms to him that he is actually his son. But Mitsuki's pretty pissed off that he would even assume something like that, so immediately wraps him up in his snakes and tries to go in for the kill. But Boruto is really calm and not attacking, and it kind of makes Mitsuki a bit confused because aren't they supposed to be enemies? Why is he not fighting back? And that though Mitsuki might believe he's his son, he has never actually shined upon him, not once. And he understands that this truth might be dizzying, but inside of you, he knows that it's true, like on some Star Wars stuff. And Mitsuki, a bit taken aback, but understands that like only certain people know this information, begins to release his snakes as he kind of wonders who the hell is he, because he has this completely different idea of who Boruto is in his mind versus who he actually is. But Boruto reassures him that don't worry, he's not going to kill him, and he's not going to kill Kawaki either. It's just a simple misunderstanding, and that both of them are brothers and they're going to resolve this one way or another. But Mitsuki still wonders why did he have to kill the 7th Hokage, and Boruto tells him he's not dead. and neither is his mother. But it doesn't matter anyway, because Mitsuki doesn't need a son, whether it be him or Kawaki, because in the past he was able to shine on his own. And if he needs anything, Boruto will be there for him, as he heads off. And then Shikamaru tells Boruto that he needs to have an actual conversation now that the fight's calmed down. And we see the Kawaki's finally woken up from his snake bite, which, my god, bro got put on his ass like really easy. But that's not the important part. What's really important is the conversation that's had between Shikamaru and Boruto, which really gets a lot of information about Omnipotence and some crazy reveals in this conversation. But according to Boruto, while they're having this conversation, he tells him everything about Omnipotence. And Shikamaru is kind of like coming to the realization, oh, this is why I can't remember anything, thinking that's going to resolve the issues. But apparently they've had this conversation several times over, and that there's a continuous cycle that every time they have this conversation, it just ends up repeating itself. They eventually forget the nature of omnipotence as well as the truth about Boruto and Kawaki swapping places. Boruto seems to know that Naruto is sealed in another dimension, so Shikamaru thinks the best way to resolve this issue is to simply just take Naruto out of the other dimension and then kill Kawaki. But Boruto cannot bring himself to do that because in the end, though Kawaki has a lot of malice towards him and wants to kill him, he understands that he's just misguided and misunderstanding the situation, and that he wants to actually save him instead of killing him. But now, aware of the situation, Shikamaru understands that he will keep in contact with Boruto as to potentially keep him from not remembering anything, and he will still keep up the persecution, but they are working together secretly. And Boruto is fine with that resolution because that's all he can really ask for at this point. And then we finally end the chapter going back to those chakra trees, and the leader, whose name I can't really remember right now, is reading through several books that are in that archive that Jigen previously had. But seemingly he can't find anything in his archives or in any of the knowledge on how to find Naruto Uzumaki as the chapter comes to an end. And honestly, this is still a very solid chapter. I want to give this a 8.5 out of 10. Very good action, very good reveals and information that's going to provide a lot of context, and it actually has me wondering several things that are going on. But I do like that they're actually drawing these fights a lot better, because before they kind of did them really repetitively where they had the same animation over and over, and they just threw speed lines unnecessarily. They're still in this chapter, but they're utilized a lot better than they were before. And I'm kind of curious as to how many times Boruto and Shikamaru have had that conversation, because Boruto seems to have had it obviously more than once or twice, because several usually means more than 3. And I'm curious as to how far they've gotten into solving the Kawaki issue, because when Kawaki was talking to Ada, it seemed like this was not a thing before. So I'm curious as to, is Shikamaru taking the same approach over and over, and what will be different this time that will keep him from forgetting? And I'm really looking forward to what those chakra trees have in store. They are still like a known unknown element of the story, and I think they could bring a lot of diversity when it comes to characters of the story, because again, it felt like a teen drama before, and now it feels like an actual just like intense story. And I love the new demeanor that Boruto has, because I'm kind of getting tired of the like happy-go-lucky shonen protagonist, and Boruto was kind of like that before, but since he's kind of gotten this now cold and just matter-of-fact demeanor, probably because he's had to do this so many times and he's just tired. I like him being written this direction way more than I like him how he was being written before. And now he's more or less confirmed to be the strongest person in their universe as of right now, because he dog-walked Code and he is able to beat Mitsuki, who one-shotted Kawaki. So currently, it's like very matter-of-fact, Boruto is in the top 3 in the universe right now. But anyway, that's all I have to say for this chapter. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm sorry I'm so late. I'm going to try my best for next chapters to come out a lot sooner. I just got really bombarded with stuff, but I'm slowly knocking down all my responsibilities one by one, so I can probably invest more time into this. But who knows? I ain't going to make no promises that I can't keep, but I'm going to try. That's all I'm telling you. Anyway, thanks again. You guys stay safe, my ninjas, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.